Hello, and welcome to this eCampus News webcast. My name is Andrew Barber. I'm a senior contributing editor with eCampus News, and I'll be acting as the moderator for today's presentation, which is sponsored by Software Secure. It's titled Inside the University of Southern Alabama, and Samford University's School of Nursing's Remote Proctoring System implementation. Before I introduce our three speakers, I want to take a few moments to highlight a couple of items. First, today's event will be recorded, so don't worry about scribbling down notes. In a couple of days, we'll send you an email, and that will contain a link to the recorded event. And you'll also be able to download a PDF of the presentation from that same email. And second, please ask questions. Don't feel as if you have to wait until the end. At any time during the presentation, if you have a question, just type it into the question and answer box on your console and hit the submit button. I hope we'll have about 10 or 15 minutes at the end for our speakers to answer your questions. And we also have Mark Wisakio, a representative from Software Secure, standing by, who will also be writing written responses to questions as they come in. So if you have a question, get them in throughout the course of the presentation. We're also, through the presentation, you're going to come across 3 poll questions, which we'd love to have you answer, and the results will display automatically on your console. So as those questions come up during the presentation, please do take a second or two to answer those. And finally, we do have a chat function that can be launched via, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see a brown group chat icon. Use chat to talk among yourselves or to contact me or the eCampus News team with any technical issues or other concerns you may have. But please don't use that chat function to ask our speakers questions. They just won't have time to monitor the chat. So if you have a question, please use the Q&A panel instead. With that out of the way, let's turn to today's speakers. Allison Sands is Director of Marketing at Software Secure. And over the last 4 years, she's focused on working with higher education and certification organizations to grow awareness about technology that improves the online education experience. And our second speaker, Dr. Tracy Taylor Overholtz, is Director of Clinical Affairs and Assistant Professor at the University of Southern Alabama's College of Nursing. And prior to joining the USA College of Nursing, Tracy worked as a registered nurse, a nurse practitioner, and an instructor at Vanderbilt University and Vanderbilt University Medical Center. And our final speaker, Amy Bigham, is Associate Professor of Nursing at Samford University's Ida V. Moffitt School of Nursing in Birmingham, Alabama. Amy has worked for more than 15 years as a registered nurse, nurse practitioner, and nurse educator. Now that you know something about who's behind the voices, let's get started. Welcome, Allison, Tracy, and Amy. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Allison, why don't you get us started?
Great. Thanks, Andrew, and good day, everyone. My name is Allison Sands, and I'm Director of Marketing at Software Secure. And I'd like to welcome all our guests and customers to our program, where we'll discuss how 2 universities' nursing programs implemented a remote proctoring system. And I'd also like to welcome again our customer guest speakers from the University of South Alabama's College of Nursing and Samford University's Ida V. Moffitt School of Nursing. Glad to have you here today, Tracy and Amy. So before we get started, here's some fast facts about our company. Software Secure launched in 1999 by our CEO and founder, Doug Winnick. Our headquarters are located outside of Boston in Newton, Massachusetts. Software Secure provides authentication and exam proctoring solutions for higher education, K-12, and certification organizations. Our flagship solution, Remote Proctor Now, or RP Now, is an on-demand solution and efficient solution for administering proctored exams in distance learning environments. We designed RP Now to provide educators and students with a user-friendly and convenient and cost-effective examination process. RP Now seamlessly integrates with any learning management system and enables a student to take a test online, anytime, anywhere, using a webcam and an internet connection. RPNow combines an easy-to-use interface with identity verification, proprietary lockdown security, and professional review of a complete recording of the exam experience to ensure your institution can test with integrity. So with over 16 years of experience in computer-based testing solutions, Software Secure is a market leader and is trusted by some of the most recognized colleges, K-12, and certification organizations who have given millions of exams with integrity. Software Secure has over 400 customers that represent a broad section of education institutions around the world. Our customers have taken exam integrity in their testing environments very seriously and have been leaders in their communities for implementing secure testing solutions. So with that, we're going to go ahead and push out a poll after the slide that I have here. I want to get a sense for the audience participants that are here with us to let the presenters know who you are. So let's go ahead and set the stage for our presentation. So if you're attending our webinar today, you're concerned with protecting the integrity of your digital assessments. You also know that if you want to grow or scale your online programs, this is an area you need to get right in order to assure you're protecting the value of the degree or credential conferred. The recent Gartner Hype Cycle for Education 2015 reported that digital assessment ranks in the top 5 technologies that educators need to make a strategic priority. And I think we can all agree on that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and push out the poll question. So if you can take a few seconds to fill that out or click to self-identify, that would be great. And then we'll keep moving along. Give it another few seconds, Andrew. Okay. So this is how we've clocked in, and I believe results will still continue to come in. So it looks like we've got kind of a balanced mix with administrators leading the pack at this time. Okay, continuing on. And so to add to these challenges, according to Gartner analyst Jan Martin Lowendahl, an increasing number of choices face educators regarding the tools necessary to deliver online education. And these include solutions that address student verification and proctoring solutions. There are a lot of must-haves for these solutions. They need to be convenient and affordable. They need to be reliable and accurate. And they need to scale as you grow your program. But most importantly, they need to protect quality and preserve academic integrity. So here's another polling question for you to take a look at to get a sense for how all of you are currently proctoring your exams, whether it's distance learning or hybrid environments. So take a moment to go ahead and click on those. We appreciate that. And then we will get on to the real show. Okay, another second. And we'll move ahead. Okay, great. Wow, interesting results there too. Looks like on-campus proctoring is still the dominant modality. Okay, so moving forward, so case in point, here's a quote from one of our presenters today that perfectly sums it up. It's important that we can trust that the people who are taking care of us acquire their credentials honestly. And our program today will discuss how 2 universities are assuring that this important objective is achieved. So without further ado, I'd love to turn the presentation over to our first presenter, Dr. Tracy Taylor Overholtz. Tracy, welcome. Over to you.
Tracy, you might still be on mute. Can you just check that you're not have muted your phone? Tracy, just check that your phone hasn't been muted, so that because at the moment I certainly can't hear you. Allison, are you hearing anything?
No, I don't, Andrew.
All right. I don't know where we have lost Tracy.
I'm back. I apologize. Okay. I tried to hit my mute button and hit a different button.
Okay, that's fine.
Welcome back, Tracy.
Over to you now.
I apologize for that mishap and to everyone listening out there, and thank you so much for the team at Remote Proctor for having us today. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time and discuss my experiences and our experiences at USA College of Nursing, how we evolved into using this technology. So just to give you a little bit of a background of the University of South Alabama, a lot of people may have heard of us and some may not have, but we have a rather large online presence. Our College of Nursing was actually established in 1973, and we enroll anywhere from 600 to 800 students annually in 10 direct care tracks, and we actually have 3 non-direct care tracks as well. So we have a large student body and a large population, and our programs are completely online. We don't do any face-to-face. We don't require intensives or anything like that except for one clinical intensive. So students are not required to come to campus. We have students all over the country and the world. We have students in Afghanistan and Japan. And because of that, we had to come up with some sort of a technology that would support testing and maintain integrity in the online environment. Our programs, I do want to mention, are both CCNE and NAC accredited, so we maintain that standard. As was mentioned earlier, I actually presented on academic integrity in the online environment earlier this year at the doctoral AAC and doctoral conference. Because of that presentation, I had to really drive home the point of why we were doing this and why we were looking for this technology. And the quote that was mentioned earlier was something that I really focused on in that presentation, and that's making sure that people understand that nursing is the most trusted profession, and of course I understand that there are other professions here, but for us it was very important that we maintain that sense of academic integrity, and it wasn't necessarily an issue, but it had been identified by faculty early on as an area that we wanted to focus our efforts to ensure that we maintained not only integrity and accreditation standards, but also maintain that sense of responsibility and sense to public trust and awareness. So moving forward, there was a decision process that we came up with here at USA to try to figure out what technology we wanted to employ. In order to do this, we actually formed an ad hoc committee, as we are fond of doing in education, and we developed some purpose and aims to make sure that we met the goals of what we wanted from the product. So the purpose obviously was ensuring academic integrity, and that was the purpose. But the aims, we wanted to identify an online solution for test monitoring. So we wanted to find something. We wanted to make sure that what we found would be cost effective. Also, it was very important to us that students would be covered by financial aid. We are a public university, and we do have students from multiple different backgrounds, and it was important to us that the product be able to be covered by their financial aid packages. And also to ensure that students and faculty were both competent in the chosen solution. So it's one of the downfalls and pitfalls I see of technology today is that sometimes people don't necessarily understand the technology they're using and therefore have a difficult time navigating that technology. So we wanted to ensure that we had something relatively user-friendly. So getting this started, we actually started this process several years ago. 5 years ago, the gold standard, actually put out by the same company, was something called Remote Proctor Pro, and it was this device that you're seeing now on your screen. It was a standalone external unit, and due to it being a standalone external unit, there were several
there were several things about using that technology. Of course, it was another piece of technology. It wasn't something that was integrated, so it was a separate standalone unit, and it plugged in, and some students would have issues with updates or just compatibility. And while the device worked very well, especially when people knew how to use it, there was some inherent issues just with having a separate external component that were difficult to overcome for some. There was a steep learning curve with this technology. The support was fine, but there was an expense to this that was more than the current product that we're using. And so it was time, after a bit of time using this, that we thought about, okay, is this really what we want to do? So we, as a college, came back together and reviewed our initial implementation of this technology and said, okay, is this where we want to be, and what do we want to do going forward? We decided that we really wanted to, the market had changed, more products were out there, there were more solutions very similar to the one that we've gone with now. And we wanted to just make sure that what we chose would be in keeping with our original purpose and aims, but also we redefine those. And so our technology needed to change to fit our needs. We researched every possible avenue. I think I spent multiple hours on the phone and doing demos and all sorts of things. Read every product review and called every person I could get my hands on. And considered, we went back to the drawing board. Do we want to go back to test monitoring services where a student would actually go to a facility, or to live proctoring in their towns or locations? But we really wanted to stick with the technology, the use of technology. And because of that, we moved into a different process. RP Now was out. We were able to look at that. They worked with us very closely, and we conducted a pilot with a select group of students. And the pilot was a large pilot. It had over 100 students in one track and close to 100 in another. So we had a fairly large pilot of about 200 students over spring 2014. And at the end of that, had a discussion forum with the students, with the faculty, with everyone, to kind of talk about what it looked like and how it worked for everyone. And everyone really was pleased with the product and the direction it went. So because of that, we worked with Remote Proctor. They worked with us, and we came up with a way that students were charged a one-time fee for this use of this product, regardless of how many tests are taking. Also, we were able to negotiate with the bookstore and have the bookstore sell the codes for Remote Proctor Now, which enabled students to use their whatever financial aid package they might have had. So in summer of 2014, the entire College of Nursing, all of our programs, all of our 10 direct care and 3 indirect care tracks transitioned to this. And we've been extremely pleased. So in review, there were a few reasons that we chose this, and the number one reason was the cost savings for the students. I did the math, and because for a nurse practitioner student to go through and the number of tests that they would take, they would spend almost $1,800 by the time they completed a traditional master's program. And so the cost savings was significant, negotiating that down to a one-time fee. It's also extremely convenient. Students can test anywhere, anytime. Before, when we had the external unit, they were tied to wherever that unit was unless they wanted to carry it with them. But now, as long as they are on a computer with an internet connection and a camera and microphone, they can be anywhere. They can be at a cousin's wedding, or I had one take it on a cruise ship. So, and I was actually very jealous of that student. But anyway, it seems to be extremely user-friendly. Students and faculty have had limited issues, and typically it is just it just reinforces the need for education on the front end. It's been very easy to integrate. It has included all of the features that we needed, and like I said before, scalable and efficient. It's been extremely efficient. And some of the reasons that we chose this, one of the main reasons is the ability for us to do a 2-view review. So if a student calls me and says, I was kicked out of an exam, I can go back to that video and relatively quickly, within just a couple of minutes, and look and see if I can look at the student's screen, and I can also look at the student. So there's two views. But what's nice about that is if there was a thunderstorm and they lost power or for whatever reason was disconnected, that is saved. I can go back and capture that data. But I can also see if a student has Googled something and during the middle of their exam that they weren't supposed to. And the monitoring service has been very instrumental in catching those things and really cutting down on faculty workload as far as doing reviews. So going forward, how we did it, well, basically I explained some of the process, but the 6 steps in our overall process, the way that it works now is students will actually purchase a license for the codes through our bookstore. Again, this is so that financial aid can be used. And then when they go to actually use the process or use Remote Proctor, they log into Remote Proctor's portal, and that then redirects them to our LMS. Like I said, it uses the built-in camera and microphone and external webcam if they don't have a built-in camera. And I typically will give students a quick link to an Amazon one for $5 if they need it, and I've not had any issues. Most computers now come with the necessary equipment. There are very few that don't. Typically, faculty will set up a practice exam so that students can make sure that they're able to access everything appropriately. And those practice exams are all free, by the way, which is very nice. And faculty will then set up their test in our learning management system, which we use Sakai, just the way they normally would. And then the faculty then log into and just register the exam in RPN. It takes 2 minutes. It's extremely easy. Students log into RPN. They authenticate the process, and then they move forward to the LMS where they log in there, choose their test, and begin testing. Like I said, the faculty can review the video extremely quickly, which is nice, and final reports are sent in a very timely manner in just a matter of a couple of days, which has been very helpful for those tests that come late in the semester when you're trying to ascertain whether or not there's been any issues. So for our outcomes for the College of Nursing, we feel like that our initial aims of that initial ad hoc committee have been met with this product. Our certification rates, which are our student outcomes, remain extremely high, 99 to 100% in most of our tracks. And any incident that we find or that's reported to us that we can verify that are not in keeping with our academic standards have been addressed. So overall, this product has been very, very beneficial for our program and for our maintaining academic integrity, which is what we've been very concerned about. As far as students and faculty outcomes, of course, there have been financial benefits. I'm sorry, that will click back in just a second. We found it to be extremely user-friendly, and technical support is available either via phone or via chat, which has been a very nice feature for students. And as the administrative person, I can log in and read those chats if a student contacts me and said that I had such and such issue. So that's been very helpful. We've had a lot of positive feedback from both students and faculty. The portability is nice, and we really feel like this levels the playing field for those students that may have had concerns about being able to test because they don't live in an area that is close to a testing center. So the next thing that you're going to see is a quote from me, which I had in my presentation to the doctoral conference, but basically it said, RP Now allowed us to achieve our objectives in terms of providing a user-friendly and effective test proctoring solution that ensures academic integrity in the online testing environment. And evidence of this is reflected in our certification rates, which have remained high. So in conclusion, I recommend that anyone going through this process forms a committee. You need to really sit down and decide what are your aims, what are your goals for your program, research all the options out there and see what might meet your needs. Consider the timing of this, because if fall is your busiest semester, you might want to do a smaller pilot in the spring, which spring is coming up, so this would be a really good time. And think about what your students and your faculty need as far as training and support. Do you have tech-savvy faculty or do you not? Those are questions that we had to ask and answer. And lastly, I would recommend having a faculty member liaison. I serve that position here. But if there is an issue or something that comes up, or if RPN needs to get a message to us, or if we need to talk to them about something we're seeing, there is one person communicating instead of several. So that we have found to be very helpful. Next, there is one more poll question, and I'm going to go ahead and launch this for you all and ask that you take a couple of minutes to answer it, and then I'll show you the live results. So basically, what is the most frequently reported negative feedback you see from students on proctoring? What is the constant thing that you see that students report to you? And I'll give you just a couple of seconds to answer that. And once you've clicked your answer, remember to hit that submit key, and that way when we advance to the next slide, you will be able to, all the results will be recorded. So I'm going to go ahead and move to that next slide. And it looks very much as I had expected that it would. It seems that, and you'll see this in just a moment, there it is, that it's possibly not very convenient. That's the majority of what students say, scheduling or traveling. So the convenience factor has definitely been addressed with this product for us at USA, and I would encourage you all just to look at convenience for your students when you're moving forward and choosing a product. Okay, next it's my pleasure to turn this over to Amy Bingham, who's the Director of Clinical, who is at Samford University. She is a professor there, and she, moving forward, will go ahead and finish this out. Amy?
Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. Again, my name is Amy Bingham, and I am a professor of nursing at Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. And we are a small private school. We have about 5,000 students total on the university campus and have about 800 students enrolled in nursing here at Samford University. We're small, but we've been grateful to receive some awards for our school and for our nursing program. We're proud to say that we have 100% pass rate on our NCLEX results for pre-licensure students and 100% pass rate on certification for nurse practitioners and nurse anesthetists each year. So we are very concerned about academic integrity as well and needed a solution for testing that would help to promote that. We began using the remote proctor product in 2012, and just like USA, we needed a way to authenticate the users and to secure the online exams so that we could maintain that academic integrity. Prior to this time, again, we were a rather small school and had a lot of students in our nurse practitioner program who were graduates of our undergraduate program and who lived regionally in the area. So coming to campus for testing was not really an issue for our students and was not so much of a convenience problem as it is in other schools. But as the program began to grow, we started to notice that we have people applying from other areas, and we still need to be able to authenticate them while taking their exams. And we used other products like remote testing centers where the students paid per exam. It was inconvenient for them. It was expensive. So we needed a more student-friendly solution that would work for us moving forward. The first semester that we did it, we just went full force and said, hey, everybody's going to do this, and let's go with it. We did start with just the nurse practitioner students, but used it for over 20 exams with about 60 students per exam in the first semester, and really had very few issues in that first rollout and thought the product was very user-friendly. Our learning management system is Moodle, but again, it is integrated into most learning management systems, so whatever product you're using, you can find that that is not an issue. We did research other products, looked at many other things, but the pricing and convenience of this product was what made this a winner. And our decision, again, to begin remote proctoring was prompted by the growth of the program. We were limited to campus testing, and those few students who went to a secure testing facility prior to this time, and we had some unsecured, unproctored exams just using the LMS where we had a lockdown browser, so the student couldn't go Google an answer, but they could have their textbook open in front of them if the exam was not proctored. So we had, prior to that time, if we used unproctored exams, we had to structure the course so that the majority of the course content and the credit from those exams did come from exams that were done here on campus, and that did become an inconvenience. So that was a frustration for us. And then in 1 year, we had a rapidly expanding program with students from all across the country applying to the program and wanting to come here, so we needed very quickly to come up with a solution to that problem. Our aims were very similar to USA. Again, we wanted to make sure that we maintained that integrity and that we could scale this to a large number of students as the program grew. We also wanted to make sure that the proctoring solution would mimic the environment that the student would have when they went to sit for the national certification exams. So in looking at different products, the remote proctor now was very convenient for the student to use. The not having the external device and using the webcam and microphones in the camera did mean that it was portable and that it could be taken from place to place. We have students test at work environments. They test at home. I had a student last week who tested in the airport in Amsterdam, which may not have been the best idea for him because he had some issues with the internet there. But the issues with remote proctor are not a problem. If the student can log on to the internet, then they can test using this proctored solution, and it's very convenient. We also had very strong recommendations from students in other programs at other universities other than nursing. We had some feedback from students in law school, in some medical schools, and some pharmacy programs, and other types of programs across the nation. So we rolled out the product. We identified the people who would be involved. And again, we started just with our nurse practitioner program. So our nurse practitioner faculty were involved in the decision making and in the rollout. We also had a tech coordinator for the School of Nursing who became very involved in the rollout of this product. We actually moved him downstairs into our office suite so that he was with us at all times. We fed him very often and brought him gifts and tried to make his job as easy as possible so that he could help us with the things that we needed. We oriented our students to the product and the practice test, began implementation, and then again just went full force with the product in that first semester. And I'll give you a few more details about this process with the next slide. So again, we identified those people who would be involved. Those were the nurse practitioner faculty and the tech coordinator. Before we began to use the product and roll it out in the semester, we developed the exam policies that we wanted for remote testing and wrote those policies down and had those approved by the university as testing policies. We were the first program at the university level to use remote testing, so we needed to make sure that those policies were congruent with the university's mission. Then we had the students purchase the program, and our students actually come to campus for an orientation at the beginning of the program. Although it is an online program, we have them come to meet the faculty, to become oriented to the program, and then we have an hour-long orientation session to the learning management system and to remote testing so that we make sure students understand what they're doing before they leave us and go back home. So we have them actually purchase and download the software that they need here on campus while they're with us. Then once we had that done, we made sure the faculty and the tech support outside of the nursing school and our 24-hour tech support for the university were familiar with what we were doing and what questions they may have should someone call when we were not available. We developed orientation for the students, and then within our learning management system in Moodle, we have a separate course that all students are placed into when they come into the program and are given access to. And this course is available to them to access the remote testing policies. It gives instructions for the requirements they would need for the computer, any technical questions they may have about an online program or remote testing. Those answers are found within this course. And we found that this was the easiest way to stay in communication with the students so that we didn't have policies listed in 10 different Moodle courses across semesters, and that way if we needed to change a policy, we could change it in one place and make sure that all those policies were congruent across the programs. And the students this says that students are required to purchase the program. We still offer on-campus testing for students who want to come to campus. That is a very low number of students in our program. It's usually less than about 2%. But for students in rural Alabama, then there are places in Alabama where we still have issues with internet access, and there are some students who just aren't comfortable with depending on their internet access for testing issues. So some of those still come here. So while it's listed as a required purchase, there is the option for the student to come to campus if they desire. So we found that we're very happy with the remote testing policies and with remote proctor now because it mimics the certification exam that they will take at the end of the program. And it mimics this environment on all their exams. If students have test anxiety, if they have disability needs related to testing, then that can be set up for all of their exams throughout the program so that they become more familiar with this process. You know, some students that come back to graduate programs have been out of school for a long time, and when they were in school for their undergraduate degree, they may have had only paper exams and be completely unfamiliar with online testing or online exams. So we didn't want them to go into their certification exam not having had that online testing environment that would be required for those exams. This greatly increased the number of students who can attend our program. Our program has increased exponentially since we began this program. We have students all across the nation and in Haiti and Australia and some in Germany as well. So just as Tracy said, this makes it very convenient for the student and makes testing easier for them. We have used it for thousands of exams. It is scalable to whatever size program you have. And now we've noticed that the adoption of remote testing has spread across the School of Nursing. Other programs in the School of Nursing are using it, and other degree options across the university are now seeing the value in online education and the value in remote testing as well. Okay, Allison, I'm not sure what this slide, I'm seeing a slide that just has a web link. Are you seeing this?
Amy, why don't you just fast forward, just move over that one and continue on.
Okay, I will. Okay, our faculty are also very happy with the remote testing. Students, again, can be anytime, anywhere. It's affordable. This was the lowest cost option for students that we found. And again, the most important aim in the entire process is the integrity of the assessment. We had to make sure that exams were secure, that we could authenticate that the person who said they were taking the test was actually the person answering the questions, and that, again, that the student could not open textbooks, could not go to other websites, or use any other resources for taking the exam during the program. We've noticed that across the School of Nursing, those programs that are not online programs who still see students in class and have an in-class presence, they found that rather than using their time to administer exams and stand and proctor an exam, using the remote product allows them to use their class time for instruction instead of assessment and proctoring. So lessons learned. Our policies are continually ongoing revision as we come up with things that students can do and say that perhaps we didn't think of before. So pay attention to your orientation and your practice processes at the onset of implementation of your program. Decide what your policies are going to be, have them in writing, and have them accessible to the students so that they can have easy access to them. The practice exams that are available that are free are crucial, in my opinion, to the success of the implementation of the program. I teach the class in the nurse practitioner program that students have the first online testing in experience. So I get to be the faculty member who runs into all of the problems that students have initially. Having students go through and do those practice exams before their first exams in the program really cut down on technical issues for the students and on problems for the faculty as well. Those practice exams are built into your LMS just like another exam. Ours don't have any real questions. We ask silly things about the holidays or things on the news, and sometimes I just ask students to spell my name correctly and just questions that are very simple. So they're not related to the content of the exam coming up, but it gives the student a way to go in, access the exam, and go through the remote proctor process and make sure that their device is functional. So if students don't do this in the first part of their program, then it may have been 3 or 4 weeks since they had an exam, and it may be that their computer has done an automatic update that is preventing them to get into the program. It may be that their children have come in and gotten on their computer and taken down the pop-up blocker or put up the pop-up blocker. Something has changed about their computer that is causing technical difficulties. So this lets them go through that exam process and make sure that everything is working correctly before the actual time for the exam. And that way, when students sit down to take their exam, their anxiety is reduced. They're not worried about how this is going to work. They're not worried about their internet access and is this really going to put me into the exam at the time that I need? And it really reduces their anxiety. I have lockdown browser listed here with a question mark. There is the option for a lockdown browser, and some of your learning management systems may give you that option as well. And that prevents the student from going into another website or opening other documents on their computer during the exam. And you'll have to make a decision about whether or not you'd like to use that. Some philosophies are that if you use the lockdown browser, they can't access anything else, but others are that if you don't use it, then you may actually catch someone who's trying to open another document or go to another website to look for answers during that exam. I strongly recommend having faculty and tech support available during the actual test times. We have our testing time set up so that all students take the test at the same time, just as if they were in a classroom setting taking the exam. So I may have 75 students logging in at the same time trying to get on and start an exam within the same 15-minute time frame. When students have problems with generally their internet access or maybe something on their computer that they're not aware of, then they need someone to call and to help walk them through that process. Remote Proctor Now tech support is great, and they're there to help as well. But just having a faculty member there to answer the phone for those students and say, hey, it's okay, you're not going to be blocked out of the test, you're not going to make a 0, we'll get you in and don't worry about it, is really helpful for the students. Especially in the first semester when they take those first exams and they're unfamiliar with the process. Our policies also dictate that the student needs to start the exam within 15 minutes of the designated start time for the exam, so that we don't have students who, because it's possible that you could have one student finish the test before the other even started, and that way we know students aren't calling each other and telling each other what was on the test before another person even starts. And then that way we have them call if they can't get in for a technical reason, so we have a log of who may be late starting the exam and why that issue has come up. So that is a policy that I recommend as well. But going forward, we will continue to use Remote Proctor Now. We have been very happy with the product, and our students have been very happy as well. And we are excited about the growth of our program and the growth that this product has allowed. So at this time, I'm going to send it back to Andrew for our question and answer session.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Amy. I have to tell you that I have been kicked off the platform, so I am unable to even see the platform right now. So Allison or Amy or Tracy, you may need to advance some stuff for us. And I have some of the questions down now. If I don't make it access back in, please, I may have to hand over my Q&A to one of you until I get back into the system. But thank you so much, Allison, Tracy, and Amy, for sharing your insights today. We have about 13 minutes left, and so I'm going to tackle some of the questions. I'm going to kick off, and then when I run out of the questions that I can no longer remember, I will hand it over maybe to Allison to take over, or maybe Mark. Why don't we start with, Amy, you talked about how I think your LMS is Moodle. There were some other questions from the audience about LMSs. Tracy, they wanted to know which LMS you were using, and there was a question about Canvas. So, Tracy, why don't we start with you talking about your LMS and how